2022 tropical version of the City Council meeting. I'll now call the meeting to order, and I'll ask Councilmember Verapapa to lead us in the pledge.
Let's begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Deputy City Clerk, could we please have the roll call?
Mayor Kalmick,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Verapapa,
Here.
Councilmember Sistarsik,
Here.
Councilmember Moore,
Here.
Councilmember Masalavit,
Here.
all present.
Thank you. Now time for the approval of the agenda and waiver of full reading of resolutions and ordinances. By motion of the City Council, this is the time to notify the public of any changes to the agenda and or rearrange the order of the agenda. Does anyone wish to pull a consent calendar item? No, thank you. Okay, Deputy City Clerk, do we have any supplemental communications?
Yes, Mayor, we have 3 emailed comments and 1 PowerPoint that was received after the posting of the agenda and that were distributed to City Council and made available to the public.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll call for a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. You're going to call the roll?
Councilmember Moore, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Sistarsik, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Kalmick, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Verapapa, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Masalavit, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. Time for our presentations and recognitions. The first one is going to be Mental Health Awareness Month. And I'll read a summary of the proclamation. The month of May has been declared National Mental Health Awareness Month, and according to the U.S. Surgeon General, mental health is fundamental to health and indispensable to personal well-being, family, and interpersonal relationships. 1 in 5 Americans will face mental health challenges in a given year, regardless of age, gender, race, ethnicity, religion, or economic status. There are widespread misunderstandings and discrimination concerning mental health that can be eliminated by recognizing that mental health challenges are real, common, and treatable. National Mental Health Awareness Month is a time for communities to acknowledge the importance of mental health and to take action to ensure individuals facing mental health challenges have access to the care, treatment, and prevention services that they need. The City of Seal Beach recognizes the month of May 2022 to be Mental Health Awareness Month and hopes that each day of the month and year is an opportunity to create change for the future. I'll now call on Olivia Siegel for comments.
First of all, thank you very much for having me tonight. I'm with the Extraordinary Lives Foundation, and our mission is to improve children's mental health and wellness and support families by providing educational tools, resources, and mental health awareness events. We created the character Piggy Bear to provide them with social emotional learning skills and empower children and teach them resilience, compassion, and self-calming skills. Our Hugs for Life Healing Center, which we're also working on, bridges the gap between medical professionals and approved holistic healers to heal and transform lives. We would like to thank the City of Seal Beach for proclaiming May as Mental Health Awareness Month and recognizing the importance of the community in raising happy and healthy children. Thank you. Thank you.
Nice little proclamation. There you go. Thank you very much for
No,
coming.
thank you. I'm sorry, but would you actually be willing to take a picture? I have Piggy Bear with me.
Sure. Our next recognition is, it's National Police Week. There are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Seal Beach Police Department. Since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 23,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty, including police officer Edward William Clavell, Jr., who died in an on-duty accident collision on August 23, 1988, while serving the citizens of Seal Beach. The names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. 619 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 472 officers killed in 2021 and 147 officers killed in previous years. May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families. The Seal Beach City Council will observe May 11th through 17th, 2022 as National Police Week in the city of Seal Beach and publicly salutes the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities that they represent. So we'll now have Chief Phil Gonchak and Lieutenant Nick Nicholas say a few words.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and I cannot tell you how much it means to me just sitting here. Got chills on my back for all of you giving us a round of applause. It's been a wild couple of years, needless to say. In short, on Peace Officers Memorial Day and during Police Week, we commend the brave men and women of our law enforcement community for continually summoning the courage to fulfill their solemn oath to protect and serve. We also pause to remember all those who have lost their lives and have suffered permanent disabilities, defending their communities and the rule of law, including the heroes we have lost to the coronavirus. Throughout our nation's history, law enforcement officials have never wavered in the face of crisis or tragedy. During uncertain times, law enforcement officers bravely face challenges and continue to protect the American people. They steadfastly ensure the safety of our communities, providing a much-needed sense of security for our citizens and our community, and they are extremely grateful for our efforts. Every day we ask a great deal of the men and women of our nation's law enforcement agencies, from ensuring public safety to serving as frontline workers to responding to critical incidents involving domestic violence, substance abuse disorders, mental health challenges, homelessness, most of the time with limited resources. Every morning, our law enforcement officers pin on a badge and go to work, not knowing what the day will bring and hoping to come home safely. As we recognize Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Officers Memorial Week, we honor those who lost their lives in the line of duty and thank them on behalf of our community for their service. In closing, thanks to our city manager who approved this as well, we both have Detective Chris Fisher and Detective Bruno Balderrama in Washington, D.C. this week, representing Officer Ed Clavell from the Seal Beach Police Department. So again, on behalf of the entire organization, thank you all before me tonight for your unwavered and continued support as we grind through this both sad and solemn week. And that's it. Back to you, Mayor.
Well, I would like to present Yosa.
Yosa.
Much appreciation in celebrating National Police Week. We should also note that Lieutenant Nicholas has changed his sartorial look. No mustache. Okay, and another group that is near and dear to our hearts, this is Public Works Week, May 15th to the 21st. I'll read a summary of the proclamation for that, Tony. Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Seal Beach. Infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are federally mandated first responders and the engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. It's in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Seal Beach to gain knowledge and maintain ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works, in our respective communities. The year 2022 marks the 62nd annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. The Seal Beach City Council hereby designates the week of May 15th through the 21st, 2022, as National Public Works Week and urges all citizens to enjoy, with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies, in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make in protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. And we'll have our Acting Public Works Director, Iris Lee, make a few important comments.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, City Manager Ingram, members of the public. The 2022 National Public Works Week is recognized this year on May 15th to the 22nd. This year's theme is Ready and Resilient. As we can all attest to, these recent years have been trying, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic. While we work together to emerge, we want to take this opportunity to let the community know that, like the theme, we are always ready to serve and resilient as ever to pick up off the ground after we emerge from challenges. On behalf of the Public Works Department, thank you for this proclamation in recognizing our public works professionals and their contribution towards protecting the city's health, safety, and quality of life. And if I may, I would like to introduce or invite Antonino Giordano up here to receive the proclamation.
Nice to see a friend. Tony has been with us for many, many years, and he always has a smiling face for everybody, and we're all very proud of the work that you do for us. So. Thank you. Now we're going to have a presentation for the Orange County Housing Finance Trust. And we have with us our Community Development Director, Alexa Smittle, and...
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'd like to introduce Adam Eliason. He is the manager of the Orange County Housing Finance Trust, which organized a few years ago, and he's been with them since the beginning. He's here to discuss the trust and what it's been doing and where it's headed.
Thank you. I'm here tonight to give you an informational presentation for your consideration to join the trust, give you some background about what we are, what we do, some of our accomplishments since it was formed, and then answer any questions at the very end. Got a presentation here for you to look at.
Make sure it's
Oh, good point. That would help. There we go. Thank you. Okay. So let me first address the question, what is a housing trust? A housing trust provides a portion of the funds that are needed to finance the preservation and production of affordable housing. Housing trusts can be established by a combination of states, cities, and counties as a joint powers authority, which is to say a collective entity with a shared mission and vision. Trust funds come from a variety of sources, including voter-approved bonds, private donations, funding streams like SB2 and Prop 1 funding, and government general funds. Later, I will mention the specifics of the Orange County Housing Finance Trust fund sources. Prior to the trust formation, UCI, University of California, Irvine, conducted a study on the cost of homelessness. The details of that study are worth examining in detail, and in summary, it concluded that the cost to ignore the challenges of homelessness in a region is more expensive than addressing the issue and providing services and housing. That study provided a strong basis for elected officials to consider joining the trust. In 2018, the county performed a study to examine the various funding sources and established a goal of creating 2,700 new supportive housing by the year 2025. In 2019, AB 448 was passed and created the Orange County Housing Finance Trust as a joint powers authority comprised of the County of Orange and the majority of cities in Orange County. The purpose of the trust is to finance and help facilitate the construction of affordable housing throughout Orange County. The trust adopted that same goal determined by the funding strategy to contribute towards the construction of 2,700 new supportive housing units by 2025. So let's talk about the difference between affordable housing and supportive housing. And while we do both affordable and supportive housing financing, part of our funding is supportive housing, which some people may not be as familiar with. The trust mission, as I mentioned, does include both, but supportive housing is always affordable housing and includes the wraparound services available to those experiencing homelessness. So supportive housing is intended for individuals and families that need more support than is found just in a typical affordable housing unit, and generally targeted at some of the lowest income levels. While there's been a lot of discussion in the county to provide homeless shelters to provide for the street homeless population, we need to continue that. It's also time that we pivot and put just as much attention towards getting our homeless population into the supportive housing they need. Since its founding 3 years ago, the trust has gained the support and membership of 23 cities in Orange County, with a goal of having the remaining 11 cities sign up sometime within the next year. This represents 80% of the population in Orange County. We have adopted a 5-year strategic plan that is our blueprint to help us achieve our specific goals. To date, the trust has secured $36 million in funding and awarded over $20 million in funding and made funding commitments to 13 projects scattered throughout all of Orange County, totaling over 900 new affordable and supportive housing units. In addition to this $20 million was already awarded, the trust is currently working on a third notice of funding availability for an additional $10 million, with funding commitments for additional projects expected later this month. The trust is currently working with state and federal funding awards to secure even additional funding. One of our big accomplishments we just achieved within the past month, we've been working on for quite some time, is every legislator in Orange County, both on the Senate and the Assembly side, both Republican and Democrat, signed a unanimous funding request to the governor's office for $30 million. It's being processed through the state. As you know, there's a surplus in funding available for affordable housing. My goal and the trust goal is to bring new dollars into Orange County to help support more affordable and supportive housing in Orange County. One of the most useful tools that we built so far is the development map on our website. Here we track the local and number of units of new affordable and supportive housing in Orange County since its creation. This is our metric for knowing how we're coming along at reaching our goal of creating that 2,700 new permanent supportive housing by 2025. This map is interactive, and if you click your mouse on any one of those push pins on the map, you can get a lot of information about each project. You can zoom in on the map. On the left, you can see we're about 40% of the way towards our goal, and we have another several years to get to that goal. Trust funding for the Orange County Housing Finance Trust is divided into two categories, administrative and capital funding that we need. On the administrative side, we get our funding from a mix of County of Orange general funds, local housing trust fund program, which is from the state of California, an agreement that we have with Orange County Council of Governments and SCAG for certain administrative functions through their REAP program, and city member contributions. Last year, the first three sources of funds were sufficient that member cities didn't have to contribute any funding for administration, nor are they expected to contribute any funding this fiscal year as well. Capital funding comes from 4 different sources so far: Orange County's General Fund, Mental Health Services Act Fund, which is from the County of Orange, Local Housing Trust Fund Program, which comes from the state, and we did receive a state general fund grant. So what are some of the benefits to cities when they join? The trust provides gap funding for the development of both the affordable and supportive housing for populations that already exist in your community. The trust helps finance development that contributes toward your arena numbers. City membership supports the trust efforts to bring new state and federal dollars into Orange County. The trust is a regional collaborative that works with other entities that are involved in the affordable and supportive housing in the region, and the trust implements the deployment of funds and compliance requirements of those funds, thus reducing city staff workload. I hope this presentation has highlighted the need for regional collaboration, not just as a financing entity, but to join with other key stakeholders in affordable housing and homelessness effort. Orange County has other regional collaborative groups. For example, in the area of addiction recovery and mental health services, there is the Be Well Clinic that is really popular and doing a lot in the space of addiction and mental health recovery and services. And we join in their efforts. For example, when they go through the efforts of helping somebody with the addictive or mental health services they need a home when they come out of that. And so we're trying to build that type of housing and working with developers to see that that housing is available. So the trust joins some of these other groups, including the continuum of care in the county, on updates and ideas that Orange County can use to address the crisis of affordable and permanent supportive housing that we have in the region. I heard an astronaut who returned to Earth and comment that from space there are no jurisdictional boundaries such as city limits. It's just humanity living together. Equally, the crisis facing us for affordable and supportive housing has no boundaries. And if we explore this issue regionally and collaboratively and fairly, we begin to see the benefits of working together on a common goal. I appreciate your time tonight presenting this to you. I hope this presentation provides some incentive to bring this item back for your approval at a future City Council meeting. I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
Go ahead.
Yeah. What are the commitments for the cities once they become a part of this?
There's no commitment other than the JPA that is signed by each city has a provision that if there are not sufficient administrative grant funds, then the cities share in the administration of the trust. And they do that based on 3 different population groups: small, medium, large. And so for the city of Seal Beach, I believe you'd be perhaps, what population are you?
25.
25,000.
Okay, you'd be in the small. And that number of how much that is depends on a variety of factors. For example, how many members of the trust are there? Since we have quite a few, that helps defer the cost. It also depends on the budget and what other funding sources that we're able to get to offset that. So I mentioned in the presentation last year, we had completely enough funding that no city had to pay into that. This year that we're approving next week at our trust budget, no funding goes in, and I already know the numbers look good, that the following year, we already have sufficient funding to cover the administration. So for the 3-year period of time, we had no city member contributions expected. But if, again, we have a drop in grant funding, there could be a contribution required. And I think if we had the existing cities right now and the budget that we have right now, a small city is expected to pay somewhere right around $7,000 if we got no grant funding.
And what kind of, can you give an example for Seal Beach? Like what would be, would we get some funding if we join this?
So you would be eligible if so there's, I like to look at it this way, there's not every city is going to have an affordable housing project. They need funding in their city. By joining, developers have access to that funding. But sometimes joining the trust is more about supporting the region rather than a specific project in your city. But yes, if you join the trust, then our funding that we have is made available to any developer who wants to build any affordable or supportive housing here in the city.
Okay, thanks.
Shelley?
Yeah, I just had, my question was sort of that, along that lines. Do you work with the spas then, or rather the city, you work with the regional groups, or?
So if I understand your question correctly, when we get funding, one of the priorities our board immediately identified was to try to evenly distribute the funding across each of the service planning areas. There's a north service planning area, central, and south. And so take $10 million, notices of funding available. We divide that up equally, and then as developers apply to that money, it's made available equally in those areas. If one area doesn't have enough applications for funding, that leftover money then is made available to the other spa.
Okay, thank
So our
you.
goal is to try to get it scattered. I will tell you that this NOFA that we're reviewing and going to the board in about a week or so, we had a project in every area. Last year, we had 2 projects in each of the areas. We love that. We love how it gets evenly distributed. That's perfect for us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Great presentation. Thank you, Alexa.
Thank you.
Now we move to oral communications. At this time, members of the public may address the council regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the council cannot discuss or take action on any items not on the agenda unless authorized by law. Matters not on the agenda may, at the council's discretion, be referred to the city manager and placed on a future agenda. Those members of the public wishing to speak are asked to come forward to the microphone and state their name for the record. All speakers will be limited to a period of 5 minutes. Speakers must address their comments only to the mayor and the entire city council and not to any individual or member of staff or the audience. Any documents for review should be presented to the city clerk for distribution. So anyone that wishes to speak, come forward, please.
Good evening, Mayor Kalmick and City Council members. My name is Corey De Leon, and at this moment, I am representing the Seal Beach Chamber as the GAT Committee Chair. We are so grateful that you guys are back in person. Had a couple announcements. First and foremost, we wanted to thank the city for its contribution to the Seal Beach Car Show. It was a wild success. In large part due to our partnership with the city. We are very grateful to report that the restaurants and the merchants down the street all reported an uptick in their businesses, and we were very grateful for our partnership and all of that. Secondly, we would like to recognize the police. This is fortuitous that we see it on the agenda. It surprised me when Chief Gonchak was surprised when we clapped. Many times in our community, or many times as you're walking around, communities think that they have the best police force. It is very rare because there's only one, and I will say, for everyone on record, Seal Beach has the best police force. As noted, I did a quick look, Instagram with their over 15,000 followers. I see Jordan in the background. Oh, he is in large part, as well as their 10,000 followers on Facebook. What they do for our community is amazing, and we stand in awe of everything that you all do for us. Secondly, we wanted to make a couple quick announcements. We have our chamber meeting on Thursday. That will be at O'Malley's, looks like, in the morning. Following that, because of the car show, we are having a celebratory kind of happy hour for anybody that participated at Hennessy's. We like to spread the love around at all of our different restaurants. That'll be at 4 o'clock, and they'll have special food specials and all sorts of good stuff, and just really a time to celebrate the success of our community coming together. We do have an upcoming event. Again, City's been an incredible partner in all of this. We have the 2022 Seal Beach Be More Healthy Expo on May 21st. This is a really, post-COVID, we've had to hold back our events. The Chamber, in conjunction with all of its sponsors, is able to have really important free screenings. Thyroid, cord aid, and stroke screenings will be for free right there at Eisenhower Park. In addition, we have about 34 different vendors, all offering quite a few different things. We are also giving away bike helmets at this event. There'll be bike helmet fittings. So I think that's, and again, fortuitous that y'all seem to dress up. I'm sure you weren't aware of what I was going to be speaking today on. However, we are super excited for the summer concerts to get reopened. And just for fun, just because apparently we are all in the theme, opening up on July 6th, will be Surf's Up, a Beach Boys band tribute. Following that, we'll have OC3. That's going to be a kind of 80s, 90s mix on July. They're always on Wednesdays, 6 to 8. Wednesday, July 20th, we're going to have Elevation, a U2 tribute band. Really fun new one this year is going to be Wednesday, July 27th, the Eagles Ronstadt Experience. Never my favorite, but always my husband's. Country music's going to come to Seal Beach on August 3rd. We are going to have Redneck Rodeo back. And finally, to close our concerts, August 10th will be Stevie Nicks Illusion. Thank you so much for your partnership with the Seal Beach Chamber. We appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
Joyce Ross Parquet, Old Town Seal Beach. Well, this is the first time I've been here in 2 years and 4 months. So, I'm glad that we're talking about the building on the pier, because that was on my list. Where's the money to get started with putting the restaurant back on the pier? The sign on 8th Street is gone. The sign down on Main and PCH needs help. Has anyone told you this? It's falling apart. Do you want it to be Seal Beach or something else? City Hall had a chance to refinance retirement salaries. Did they? Did anybody suggest that they refinance the salaries a year ago when you could have gotten a better rate? Huntington Beach did. Covina did. Why didn't the city council do that? We need the money for Main Street streets. I sent all of you copies of what's happening down there. So what happens when somebody falls? We get sued. I saw a lady fall down by the nursery a couple years ago. And so someone came to me just recently and said, I fell up on Ocean Avenue because the water was there. I sued the city and got $25,000. You aren't telling us about these lawsuits. He's suing the landowner too. So how does all this happen, these secrets of who has been falling on our bad streets? And so now I wanted to know where the money is for the new restaurant on the pier. Well, now you've got it going. That's good. So what else do I need to talk about? I think maybe that's all, because this is the first meeting, but I'm really concerned about Main Street, and I know there's been lawsuits against the city, and I'd like to know how they work through without telling the public about these lawsuits. And now I know you have them up on Ocean Avenue. So, and now you want us to cut back on water? We have to cut back on water while the pier down there's got water going and Rivers End's got water going. So when are you going to cut that water off before you cut our water off? So that's all for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comments. And next is our city attorney. Do you have a report this evening, Craig?
Thank you. Good evening. No report tonight.
Okay. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. No report tonight.
Okay. Council comments. We'll start at this end.
Thank you, Mayor. I went to the car show on Saturday. Had breakfast by the pier with pancake breakfast with the Lions and the Leos were serving, and it was a beautiful day. The chamber and the city staff, the city staff and the police, and the Lions, the Leos, all worked really well together. So we had a wonderful time, and thanks. That's it.
I also went to the car show. I started at 9 a.m. early, and it was already full, so it looked like they were going to have a very successful time. I noticed at Seal Beach PD website, or not website, Facebook site, that your ride-alongs, unless I'm seeing reruns, that looks like ride-alongs are back, so that was fun to see. I attended a Regional Military Affairs Committee meeting at the Joint Forces Training Base, a presentation from the Airfield Commander and Safety Officer on aircraft operations at the Los Alamitos Army Airfield. And that's all for my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra?
I only would like to mention that the Orange County Sanitation District is having a virtual tour of its facility on Ellis and Euclid. And if you would like to register for that tour, go onto their website and do so. It's really interesting. You'll meet some of the staff, and you'll get to see how that whole thing operates. It's fascinating. You have no idea. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Coffee with Cops at the pier a couple weeks ago. Really appreciate the services of our police department and the residents that were in attendance, and also the Bogart's Coffee for the coffee they supplied. I also attended the car show. Great work, great event, well attended. Thank you, Chamber, City, and all the volunteers. Really had a blast, so thank you very much.
And I also attended the Coffee with a Cop with Mike, and it's great to see the interaction between our residents and our police officers. You know, there's no, you don't see a barrier there. The residents come right up and start conversations or ask questions, And I hope we continue to do that in all the different districts in the city and encourage, when you see the next one is coming up, go out there, meet the guys and the women that are serving us, and I think you'll find that they're all great people, and you can ask them anything. I attended last week the 54th graduation of Orange County Fire Academy. This time they've hired 31 new firefighters. These are lateral transfers from other departments that want to come to work for Orange County that are already certified firefighter paramedics, which will help. There's been issues of too much overtime available, and this will help with that. And actually, starting today, they're running another fire academy. We did have a couple of incidents in town. As you know, Taco Surf suffered a fire, and we had a fire in Surfside, unfortunately. That it's amazing to know that in a matter of minutes, how many units from not only the city of Seal Beach, but Huntington Beach provided us. We had assistance, I believe, of the battalion chief from even Long Beach, as it's in as you know, a very difficult space to operate in. And I saw some of the photographs, and I've been up on ladders before, but the pitch of that roof was pretty scary to be working on that. I attended the regional conference for what is known as SCAG, which is the Southern California Association of Governments. I'm the regional board member for that, so this was very, very interesting. You not only get a chance to meet other elected officials, whether they be mayors or so forth, but you hear a lot of things that you don't necessarily hear about via Zoom meetings. And it was very, very interesting. We had a keynote speaker. I don't know if you have heard of John Quinones, who has been with ABC News for 40 years, an amazingly inspirational speaker, which was very, very, very interesting as well. And finally, just to be of note for those who haven't seen, the beach house at River's End is under construction. So we'll be looking forward to the progress there. It's been a long wait, but we're all very happy to see it going. And that's my comments.
Mr. Mayor, may I mention, I forgot to mention in my report that I was at the SCAG conference as well. And we went to dinner.
Yes, we did.
And we met a lot of people that are colleagues from other cities. And it was a fair to Midland conference, I'd say.
Yeah, but meeting the people. I mean, there are people that are there from all over. There's 179 cities.
About 170 jurisdictions.
And so there are lots of people there. And, I've been on several Zoom meetings, and I had people come up to me. I'm sitting there drinking my orange juice, and it's like, Joe Kalmick, it's nice to see you. And it was a supervisor from the county of Ventura. So it's you do see a lot of people. All right, so we don't have any council items for this evening. The consent calendar is next, and items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and are enacted by a single motion, with the exception of items removed by council members. So I'll call for a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, please vote, or we'll have a roll call.
Councilmember Moore, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Sistarsik, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Kalmick, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Verapapa, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Masalavet, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Well, moving right along, we have no public hearings, we have no unfinished or continued business, we have no new business, which means we're at adjournment. So we had a nice comprehensive short meeting tonight. So I will now adjourn the city council to Monday, May 23rd, 2022 at 5:30 PM to meet in closed session if deemed necessary. Thank you all for attending and watching if you're at home, and participating if you did.